Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not just talking to everyone. I'm talking to you, the one who's tired but still trying. One of the first steps toward mental freedom is recognizing that the opinions others have about you are in fact just that. Opinion. They are not truths, and they certainly do not define who you are or determine your value. Too many people live their lives according to what others think, endlessly chasing approval and seeking validation from those around them. But what we must realize is that everyone's perception of us is shaped by their own biases, experiences, and expectations. What they think has nothing to do with who you are. It only reflects their lens, not your reality. The first mistake many make is taking these external judgments too seriously. When you tie your sense of self-worth to someone else's view of you, you become a slave to their opinion. You begin to make decisions based on what you believe will meet their approval, instead of making decisions that align with your own goals, values, and desires. You end up living a life not true to yourself, but a life shaped by others. The truth is, other people are not living your life. You are. Consider this. When you are constantly seeking approval, you are essentially giving away your power. Every time you wait for someone's validation before making a move, you put the control in their hands instead of your own. This is a dangerous game to play because it's impossible to satisfy everyone. No matter how much you try, you will never be able to please everyone around you. And the more you focus on what others think, the less energy you have to focus on your own growth and aspiration. People's opinions are often rooted in their own insecurities, fears, and limitations. Think about the times when someone criticized you or judged you harshly. What was their motivation? Were they genuinely concerned for your well-being, or were they projecting their own fears and doubts onto you? Most often, criticism from others comes not from a place of love, but from their own need to feel better about themselves or their own fears of inadequacy. When you realize that most negative opinions reflect more about the person judging you than about you, it becomes much easier to let go of the need to please them. The second part of this realization is that your own sense of identity and self-worth should come from within. You are the only person who truly knows your intentions, your desires, and your capabilities. If you allow others to define who you are, you will always be living in the shadow of someone else's perception. On the other hand, when you begin to define yourself, regardless of what others think, you empower yourself. You become the authority in your life, and that is where real mental freedom comes from. The ability to live authentically, without the weight of external validation. Finally, you must learn to challenge the beliefs you've absorbed about yourself from others. Have you ever heard someone say something negative about you and then let it affect your self-esteem for days, weeks, or even years? These ideas, often planted by others, take root in our minds and start to shape our identity. But just because someone else holds a certain view doesn't make it true. Challenge those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this opinion based on fact, or is it based on someone else's perception? The more you question and reject the opinions of others, the more mental freedom you create. The world doesn't get to tell you who you are, only you get that privilege. In the journey toward achieving your highest potential, one of the most powerful things you can do is free yourself from the burden of caring what others think. Most people walk through life trapped by the opinions, judgments, and expectations of others. They base their actions, decisions, and self-worth on the approval of others. This not only limits their freedom, but it also hinders their ability to pursue their true passions and create the life they were meant to lead. Mental freedom comes when you decide that your happiness, your choices, and your success are not determined by what others think or say about you. This doesn't mean you become disconnected from the world around you, or that you stop valuing relationships and feedback. It means you take back control of your own mind. You become the master of your emotions and your responses. You realize that the only opinion that truly matters is your own. When you stop caring about what others think, you unlock the door to limitless potential. You stop being weighed down by the fear of judgment, and instead you focus on what you truly want to achieve. The more you operate from this place of mental freedom, the more clarity you gain about your goals, and the more confident you become in pursuing them. Self-worth is the foundation of a life lived free from the burden of others' opinions. It's the internal measure of your value, not based on the fleeting judgments of others, but rooted in your understanding of who you are, what you've accomplished, and what you're capable of achieving. When you develop a strong sense of self-worth, you no longer seek external validation because you have already established your value in your own mind. This means you're no longer reliant on others to make you feel good about yourself, and that is the key to mental freedom. A person with strong self-worth is not easily swayed by criticism or praise. They know who they are and remain unwavering in their beliefs, regardless of what others may say. This kind of self-assurance doesn't happen overnight. It is built over time through consistent self-reflection, self-acceptance, and a commitment to living according to your own standards. You begin to understand that your value is intrinsic. It is not something that can be given or taken away by the opinions of others. Once you accept your inherent worth, you stop playing the game of approval seeking, and you free yourself from the prison of other people's expectations. Confidence, too, plays a crucial role in building mental freedom. Confidence comes from the belief that you can handle whatever challenges life throws your way. It is built through action and accomplishment. The more you push yourself to take risks, to act despite fear, and to keep moving forward when the world tells you to stop, the more your confidence grows. When you trust yourself to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals, the opinions of others lose their power over you. You stop waiting for others to tell you that you're capable, and you start proving it to yourself. Confidence is also a byproduct of setting and achieving personal goals. Every time you accomplish something that aligns with your values, you reinforce the belief in your own abilities. Whether it's a small win or a major milestone, each success serves as a reminder of your competence and potential. As you look back on what you've achieved, you begin to see yourself as someone who gets results, someone who can navigate the challenges of life with grace and determination. This not only strengthens your sense of self-worth, but also reinforces your belief in your ability to create the life you want, no matter what others think. Another important aspect of building self-worth and confidence is the ability to be your own biggest cheerleader. Most of us are quick to criticize ourselves when things don't go according to plan. We focus on our mistakes and shortcomings, believing they define us. But a person with strong self-worth understands that failure is simply a stepping stone on the path to success. They treat themselves with kindness, they celebrate their progress, and they acknowledge their own efforts. This inner support system is vital because when the world around you is filled with doubt and criticism, your own self-encouragement will keep you moving forward. Finally, it's crucial to surround yourself with influences that reinforce your self-worth. This means being mindful of the people you allow into your life. When you surround yourself with positive, supportive individuals who lift you up and encourage you, your self-esteem grows. Conversely, negative people who constantly criticize or belittle you can slowly chip away at your sense of worth. Choose to be in the company of those who remind you of your potential, who see the best in you, and who encourage your growth. The more you invest in relationships that nourish your self-worth, the more confident and mentally free you become. Living by external expectations creates a life that is often full of stress, frustration, and dissatisfaction. Too many people spend their lives trying to meet the expectations of others, whether it's parents, friends, colleagues, or society in general. They shape their goals, their career paths, and even their personalities based on what they think others will approve of or admire. But this kind of living only leads to internal conflict and a lack of fulfillment. True mental freedom comes when you decide to focus on your own values and live in alignment with them, rather than constantly trying to meet external standards that have no true meaning for you. When you live according to external expectations, You disconnect from your authentic self. You begin to do things because you think you should, not because you genuinely want to. This results in a life that feels forced and unfulfilling. For example, many people follow career paths they're not passionate about simply because it's expected of them, or they strive for material success at the expense of their personal well-being because society tells them that wealth is the ultimate achievement. The more you prioritize others' expectations over your own, the more you lose touch with what truly matters to you. To break free from this pattern, you must first define your own values. Your values are the guiding principles that reflect who you truly are and what you care about most deeply. These are not shaped by the opinions of others, they come from within. They could be things like honesty, family, creativity, freedom, personal growth, or service to others. When you are clear about what you stand for and what drives you, you begin to make decisions from a place of authenticity, not obligation. You stop bending to what others want from you, and you start following the path that aligns with your inner truth. Living by your own values allows you to make decisions with confidence. When you know what matters most to you, decisions become simpler because you have a framework to guide you. Should you take that job offer? Should you move to a new city? Should you invest your time in a new relationship or project? By asking yourself, does this align with my values? You remove the pressure of trying to please others or meeting societal standards. The answer lies within you, not in the approval of someone else. This sense of clarity and purpose brings an enormous amount of peace and confidence. It's important to remember that living according to your own values doesn't mean disregarding other people or being selfish. It means acting from a place of integrity and ensuring that your decisions are in line with what you truly believe. The key is to balance your own needs and desires with those of others, but never at the cost of your own authenticity. When you are living true to yourself, you show up as a better version of who you are, more fulfilled, more focused, and more capable of positively impacting the lives of those around you. Furthermore, living in alignment with your values cultivates resilience. There will always be challenges, setbacks, and criticism from others, but when you are clear about your values, you develop a sense of inner strength that makes it easier to stay the course. When external expectations try to pull you in one direction, you have a powerful internal compass to guide you back. This is where true mental freedom is found, in knowing that you are not controlled by the shifting winds of other people's opinions, but instead you have a solid foundation that keeps you grounded and true to who you are. One of the most significant roadblocks to living freely and confidently is the paralyzing fear of judgment and failure. Many people refrain from taking action because they worry about what others will think or fear the possibility of making mistakes. But the truth is, fear will always be present, and the key to overcoming it is not to eliminate fear, but to act despite it. Fearless action doesn't mean that you never feel fear. It means you choose to move forward regardless of it. It's the courage to take steps toward your goals without waiting for perfection or approval from others. Fear holds us back from taking the risks necessary for growth. We all know that in order to achieve something extraordinary, we must step outside our comfort zones. The bigger the dream, the greater the risk. However, many people hesitate to take that leap because they worry about what others will say if they fail. What they fail to recognize is that the greatest successes come from the willingness to fail. Every time you take action, even if the result isn't what you expected, you gain experience, you learn, and you grow. It's only by taking those bold, sometimes uncertain steps that you create the foundation for long-term success. When you embrace fearless action, you stop allowing the opinions and expectations of others to dictate your pace or your direction. You start to trust your own instincts and take ownership of your decisions. You realize that others' judgments are just noise. The opinions of others can only harm you if you allow them to influence your actions. When you act with purpose, driven by your own values and goals, The judgment of others becomes irrelevant. Instead of seeing obstacles and barriers, you begin to see opportunities for growth and transformation. One powerful shift that happens when you embrace fearless action is the realization that you are in control of your destiny. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or for the approval of others. Instead, you take the reins of your life. The reality is that the perfect moment often doesn't exist. There will always be uncertainties, doubts, and external pressures that try to hold you back. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the willingness to act in spite of those factors. When you take action, you take control of your circumstances and create your own opportunities, rather than waiting for them to appear. Fearless action also builds momentum. Every time you take a step toward your goals, even a small one, you create forward momentum. Momentum is a powerful force. It's what keeps you moving forward even when the path gets difficult or when fear tries to make you hesitate. The more you act, the more confident you become, and the more your actions align with your values and vision. As you gain momentum, you begin to see results, which further fuels your motivation to keep moving. You realize that success doesn't happen overnight, but it's the consistency of your actions that leads to progress. Finally, embracing fearless action gives you the freedom to fail, and more importantly, to learn from those failures. People who are afraid of judgment often avoid failure at all costs, which limits their growth. But when you embrace the idea that failure is just a stepping stone to success, you begin to see it differently. Failure is not a reflection of your worth. It's simply part of the journey. Each failure brings valuable lessons that can't be learned in any other way. By embracing fearless action, you understand that the path to success is not linear. There will be setbacks, but each one brings you closer to your ultimate goal, making you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what lies ahead. One of the most liberating steps you can take on the journey to mental freedom is to stop seeking external validation. For most people, the desire for approval from others is so ingrained that it feels almost automatic. Whether it's approval from parents, peers, colleagues, or even strangers, we seek validation to feel good about ourselves, to affirm that we are on the right path, or that we are worthy of love and respect. But the truth is, external validation is fleeting and unreliable. It can never provide the lasting sense of self-worth that comes from within. When you stop seeking validation from others, you take back control of your life and your happiness. At the core of seeking external validation is the belief that our worth is determined by others' opinions of us. This belief is deeply rooted in society, where success is often measured by how others perceive us. We are taught to look outward for feedback, whether it's through likes on social media, praise from a boss, or admiration from friends. However, the problem with relying on others to define your worth is that it places your sense of value in something that is constantly shifting. People's opinions are influenced by countless factors and can change from day to day. If your worth is dependent on others' ever-changing views, you'll never experience true security or peace of mind. When you begin to stop seeking external validation, you shift the focus back onto yourself. Instead of looking for reassurance from the outside world, you learn to trust your own judgment. You develop the ability to validate your own decisions, acknowledge your achievements, and recognize your strengths. This internal validation is much more stable and reliable. You no longer need someone else to tell you that you're doing a good job or that you're on the right track. You have learned to measure your progress based on your own criteria, which is far more empowering than seeking approval from others. The truth is, when you constantly seek validation from others, you give up your power. You start making decisions based on what others think is best for you, rather than following your own desires and instincts. This can cause you to feel trapped in a cycle of trying to meet other people's expectations, leaving you disconnected from your true self. As you stop seeking external validation, You begin to make decisions that align with your own goals and values. You start to trust your own instincts and stop second-guessing yourself based on what you think others want from you. Another important aspect of stopping the search for external validation is the ability to handle criticism. When your sense of worth doesn't depend on what others think, you become less sensitive to their opinions, especially negative ones. Criticism, whether constructive or not, no longer feels like a personal attack. Instead, you are able to see it for what it is: feedback that may or may not be relevant to your journey. You can assess it objectively without allowing it to shake your confidence or alter your course. This shift allows you to stay focused on what truly matters and continue moving forward without getting distracted by the opinions of others. Finally, ceasing the pursuit of external validation fosters a sense of inner peace and freedom. When you rely on others for approval, you are forever at the mercy of their judgment. But when you find peace within yourself, you stop looking for confirmation from the outside world. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself or seek permission to be yourself. This mental freedom allows you to live authentically, with confidence and without the anxiety that comes from constantly measuring yourself against the standards set by others. You become free to pursue your goals on your own terms, knowing that your worth is not contingent upon anyone else's opinion of you. One of the most powerful ways to free yourself from the weight of other people's opinions and the constraints of fear is by mastering the art of letting go. We often find ourselves holding on to things, be it past mistakes, unfulfilled expectations, or the judgment of others that no longer serve us. These attachments create mental and emotional clutter that prevents us from moving forward. Letting go is not just about releasing negative emotions or past hurts. It's about releasing the need for validation, approval, and a constant desire to control how others perceive us. The ability to let go is essential for cultivating mental freedom and creating space for personal growth. Letting go begins with the recognition that many of the things we hold on to are not ours to carry. Take, for instance, the weight of someone else's opinion. When we hold on to these opinions, we carry them as if they are facts about who we are, shaping our self-perception and behavior. The reality is, their opinion is just that, theirs. It has no bearing on your true identity unless you allow it to. Letting go of the need to hold on to others' judgments is the first step toward liberating yourself from their control. When you release the grip of these external influences, you regain control over your own life and choices. Another crucial aspect of letting go is the release of past mistakes or failure. Too many people carry their failures like a badge of shame, allowing past experiences to dictate their future actions. But the truth is, failure is part of the learning process, not a reflection of who you are. Every mistake you make is an opportunity to grow, adapt, and improve. The problem comes when you continue to ruminate on these failures, letting them define your identity and cloud your vision of the future. By mastering the art of letting go, you stop carrying the weight of your past and begin to see each experience as a lesson rather than a limitation. Letting go also involves releasing the need to control every outcome. When you are overly concerned with controlling how others perceive you or micromanaging every detail of your life, you create unnecessary stress and pressure. Life is unpredictable, and we cannot control everything, especially how others think. Mastering the art of letting go means surrendering the need for control and allowing things to unfold naturally. It's about trusting yourself, your decisions, and your journey. You can't control other people's actions or opinions, but you can control how you respond to them. When you let go of the need to control, you create a space where you can live more freely, act with intention, and adapt to the flow of life. A powerful element of letting go is the release of unrealistic expectations. We often create mental and emotional pressure by holding on to expectations that are too high, too rigid, or based on the expectations of others. These expectations create a constant sense of inadequacy because we can never fully meet them, no matter how hard we try. Learning to let go of these expectations frees you from the constant cycle of disappointment. It allows you to focus on progress instead of perfection, to celebrate small victories, and to move forward without the burden of unachievable standards weighing you down. Letting go also requires emotional resilience. There will be moments when life challenges you, when others criticize you, or when things don't go according to plan. The ability to let go of the emotional weight attached to these challenges is what allows you to bounce back and move forward. It's not about suppressing emotions, but rather about releasing their power over you. When you stop holding on to anger, resentment, or disappointment, you create space for peace, clarity, and a positive mind. You understand that while emotions are a natural part of life, they don't have to control your actions or define your responses. By letting go, you choose to respond with grace, focus, and strength, rather than getting stuck in the emotional turmoil of the moment. In the end, the key to mental freedom lies in your ability to trust yourself and your own inner guidance. You must embrace the idea that your worth is not defined by anyone else's opinion, but by the choices you make, the values you hold, and the actions you take. When you stop seeking validation from others, when you let go of fear, expectations, and the need to control, you step into a life of true freedom and power. Remember, the only person you need to impress is yourself. It is only by being true to your values and living authentically that you can find peace and fulfillment. Don't let the noise of the world drown out your own voice. When you shift your focus from external approval to internal confidence, you unlock the potential to become the person you were always meant to be, someone who no one can ignore because you've learned to stop caring what others think. So take action. Let go of the past, embrace the present, and walk confidently into your future. Because the moment you stop living for others is the moment you truly begin living for yourself.